Cada día sale el sol, nuevas esperanzas son. Dios habla a tu corazón, sanándote, alimentando tu vida con bálsamo de vida, con bálsamo de vida, bálsamo de vida.
Bálsamo de vida con Rosmery y Reid.
A few days ago, we had our glorious women's revival titled Use What You Have in Your Hands, and each message directed by the Holy Spirit made us understand in one way or another our purpose on this earth. And on closing Sunday, the message was titled The Power of Survival. There were so many words that God imparted to us that day, where all of us, by the mercy of God and by His grace, were highly blessed. And I heard God speak directly to my life, and I want to share with you some of the statements that made me reflect. And I hope that it will also be a blessing to you. Now, the first statement that made me reflect was that many times when the Lord tells us or places something in our hands, we believe that it's always to use with other people or for other people, and we ignore and lose sight of the fact that we must start with it. We need to use what God places in our hands, in ourselves, and in our families. We see many brothers and sisters with the gifts of healing, gifts of science, revelation, but deep down we don't know how loaded their lives are with trials, struggles, and tribulations, and it's unfortunate because many times it happens because they do not know how to use for themselves what God has placed in their hands. Maybe it's easy for you to use what God has placed in your hands in others. The question for reflection today is, and for you, for your family, how are you using what God has placed in your hands? I want to remind you of the story of Moses and the people of Israel in front of the Red Sea. Now the Israelites were frightened because the Egyptians were coming behind them, and in front of them was the Red Sea, and they complained to Moses. They told him it's better to continue being slaves in Egypt than to die at their hands in the desert. But Moses told them, do not be afraid, because he was sure that God would give them the victory. And the word says in chapter 14 verse 15, Then the Lord said to Moses, Why are you crying out to me? Tell the Israelites to move on. Raise your staff and stretch out your hands over the sea to divide the waters so that the Israelites can go through the sea on dry ground. And that's exactly what happened. The seas were parted and the people of Israel were able to walk on the dry land. And when the Egyptians tried to follow them, the sea came down and swept them away. What the Holy Spirit wants to deal with you on this day is that this gift that God has placed in your hands, you have to use in yourself. Remember what you have in your hands in moments of affliction, of pain, or illness. Declare again and again that word of faith that in times of distress you have declared to others. And I invite you to put your hands on the part that affects you, and with faith, just as you have used it for others, pray to God and declare healing for your body. And not only for your body, but also healing for your soul. With help and direction of the Holy Spirit, use in yourself what God has placed in your hands. This is your sister Vanessa Ortiz, and may God bless you.
Gracias por estar ahí, escuchando Bálsamo de Vida. Si estas palabras han edificado tu vida, escríbenos a balsamodevidareflexiones@gmail.com y síguenos en nuestras redes sociales. Reflexiones Bálsamo de Vida. Que su gracia te cubra en este día.